Cool, so this is the NWC Show, episode 52, and if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Cool. I am the Fair City Hooligan, FPWA original, nobody's son, and the man with far too many nicknames considering he's never had a match, Brent Carter.
Good introduction, man. That's all we ask. Just everybody throw out their monikers, and then hopefully somebody goes and checks you out. So the way we always start this is the exact same question for everybody, and it's how you break the ice with any kind of person. Is what got you into wrestling? That question you've probably asked a million times.
That's all right. So I remember the first time I ever saw wrestling, I was like 3 or 4, and I hated it, and I cried because my mum was going out that night, and I was upstairs. Like, we were in a flat, and then there was a flat upstairs, and her neighbour had kids, and her kids were older than me, and they loved wrestling. And I was staying there that night, and I was raging because I wanted to watch Gladiators, because Gladiators was going to be coming on, but they wanted to watch wrestling. So I had the biggest tantrum you could have ever imagined. But my mum hadn't left yet, so she recorded it. She set the video to record before she left. So then it was fine. So I sat down, watched wrestling, and then that was it. Like, I don't think I ever watched Gladiators ever again. But no, for about 3 or 4, that was when I properly got into it. I remember it was like, I can't even remember who they were facing, and this is a horrible thing to admit that this is what got me into wrestling, but it was the Beverly Brothers were tag teaming against somebody, and I was like, who are these mad purple guys with blonde mullets? I love them. What is this? And that was it. Just hooked from then on.
Well, that's a pretty cool story. Mine's is quite similar. So I was at my mum's friend's house, and I just kind of was in front of TV, and wrestling was on. I just kind of was watching it. Didn't really know what it was. My mum wasn't somebody who wanted me to get into wrestling, but it was that attitude, the start, like 97-ish, when I was about 5, 6. So that 97 kind of period when it was like, right, everybody's into wrestling. So then I just got into it, and then obviously had WCW. It was on Channel 5 on a Saturday. VHSs, which all the kids don't know what they are. But it was insane.
Back there.
I seen them, that's why it brought it back to me. But man, it's such a weird time growing up when I was growing up. We're probably about the same age. Growing up at that time was so weird because it was just you had to wait for the TV for wrestling to be there, and then now it's literally everywhere. YouTube itself has got more wrestling than anything, which I think kills it a wee bit. But it's just me. We're not going to get into a rant that I've already had today that people who either really disagree with me and just start calling me names, or they do agree with me. But I would probably say that's what's hurting wrestling, but that's my opinion. So how long have you been training, man? How long did you... Well, first of all, what made you go, no, what, I'm going to go try this? What was that thought process?
So, like, always wanted to be a wrestler since I was wee. Like, when I first watched it, I didn't even think I could be a wrestler. But then, like, we stopped watching it after a while, because, like, you know how, like, if you didn't have Sky, you can't watch wrestling all the time. Or, well, it wasn't Sky when we had it. It was like Telly West, or, well, showing my age. But got back into it about 98, 99. So Attitude Era and all that. And from, like, seeing it again and seeing all that, that was dead set. That was what I wanted to do. Because, like, where I was staying at that time, like, my stepdad, he was like a pretty nasty piece of work at the time. So, like, I used wrestling as a bit of like escapism. Like, oh, see, if I was like that size, I'd be fine. And it was like, that was dead set from like about 8 or 9 was going to be a wrestler. Lots of things got in the way of that. Wanted to start wrestling training when I was like younger, about 14, 15, wasn't allowed, which finding out about what that training school was like now, I'm a bit all right with that. But at the time was gutted. When I got to about the time that I could sign up to join a wrestling school myself with like no permission, ended up becoming homeless instead. So that put a dampener on that. So there's been quite a few roadblocks in the way. But started to get stuff like back on track, and then Andy Wilde opened up FPWA in October 2019 and been there since day one.
That's a pretty cool story. For me, it was something quite similar. So I didn't have a dad or anything like that. It was just my mum, but she was very sick for my whole life before she passed away when I was like 18. But it was just like an escapism watching that wrestling show and being the whole reason I liked Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Robocop, all that kind of stuff. I was able to escape from like my mum being in hospital every single week, or she's there for months and my gran had to look after me. And it was just like an escapism thing, which I ended up going to train to be wrestling and done wrestling for a good like 7-ish years. So when I was like 12, I went to I always forget the name of it. I've had people on here that's went to the same place and they tell me it, and I'm never remember it. But it was like in Linwood, in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I've heard stories.
Aye, it's just literally in a garage, like an industrial estate in Linwood. And if anybody, I don't know if you know Linwood, there's like literally nothing in Linwood. It's like industrial estate, flats, bus stop. That's about you. But so it was like I was going up there like when I was 12. I was telling my mum, I was like, oh, no, I'm working in a shop. Like, so I live in the city centre of Glasgow, so it's a bit of a distance to go to Linwood.
12-year-olds going to Linwood by yourself, that's brave.
My kids knew I would be like, no, I'll take yous, I'll drive yous. But back then, obviously, I was just like, this is what I want to do. My mum was like, you're not going to be a wrestler, don't be stupid. And I was like, all right, I've got a job in a shop. So I just went there. And I was the same thing when I was wrestling. I met one of my best friends called Hugo, and he was wrestling in France one time, and I went with him. He was in Holland, and I went and done a match there as well. But like, it was just like, I thought, oh, I'm going to go stay at my friend's house, come back, and I'm like, what's that happened to you? A box fell and stuff. It hurt me. I'm sorry. But it was fun. It was a cool kind of experience. But along those lines as well, I ended up breaking my neck, which I mention in every single podcast, 52 in a row. So I'm happy with it. I even mentioned it to Sabu, which is pretty cool. But so after that, I obviously fell out of love with wrestling, being at the Disney love me, so I don't want to watch it. And my life took a downward spiral. Like my mum passed away, my best friend passed away. I ended up homeless as well, and it was just like one of those it's like 3 years, 4 years of my life. It just felt like everything was just, and I mean everything was going wrong. Like my bank account wouldn't allow me access to it because I had to have an address, and I was like, "What? I've got money. What is happening?" And then family stuff. I had to pay for my mum's funeral, then I got money stolen off me. It was all this kind of thing, and I was like, I'm never going back to wrestling. Then obviously life moved on. I have a business now. I've got kids, so I'm like, maybe it's too late for me to go back, especially with my neck still. But I'm like, no, I can podcast. I can talk to people about something that I really love. Like, it's my favorite thing ever. As much as sometimes the current product makes me shout at YouTube, but it is my favourite thing ever from like when I was younger. It's not all I ever remember my whole life is that, just loving wrestling all my whole life. And it's like comfort blanket, especially in what I do for my real shoot job. It's like always uncomfortable. And then when I can go back to wrestling, put on the WWE network and watch like King of Ring 99 or some weird shit like that. But that was one of my first pay-per-views, which I remember getting in VHS. So I always go back and watch that. Not the best pay-per-view, but it just feels cool.
I get what you mean. I'm the same with Backlash 99.
Oh, aye. That's good.
Yeah, I've got the tape back there, but like the head of the tape's broken off because I played it that much, so it's just got like the actual layer of tape at the, like, you need to be really careful putting it in the machine. But yeah, I watched that to death. There's a few of them like that. King of the Ring 2000. God, I remember I had every single episode of WCW Nitro from like 1997 to when it shut recorded somewhere. I don't know where they are anymore. I'm raging that I've not still got them, but yeah, I get that.
That would be a collector's item. And one thing that I was remembering recently is we're sounding like old men now, sitting talking about the good old days of VHSs, but it was better. It was a WCW collection, and you got like 4 VHSs in it, which obviously was like this big, but it was like Sting, Sid Vicious, Goldberg, and Randy Savage, and it had like their best.
Hang on. For the video watchers, hang on. This guy.
Man, I've not seen that since I was like 5, or no 5, whatever age I would have been, 10, 9, something like that. It just flashed back my childhood, and randomly I was really thinking about that today. So that's a omen for the podcast. Hopefully it's a good one. No, I always feel back then it felt so weird as well. Like with VHS or DVDs, you had to save up, you had to get it, and you put it in, and you didn't have like a ton of matches to like go through like on the WWE network. Just now you've got what WCW, ECW, all the modern stuff, all the old WWF, the NWA, just tons of content. But back then, what VHS you had, that would be in, and it would end up breaking, or you couldn't ruin it. Like that was like precious, because if it went, you would never get it back.
No. The library here where I live in Perth, when I was a kid, you could rent out like books and all that, but you could like they had a video section as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I had this library account that like I have so much fines on. I've never went back to pay them back, but I just basically stole their wrestling collection. It was like a whole bunch of like In Your Houses, like the one with Buried Alive with Mankind and The Undertaker, King of the Ring 97. Like I basically just stole videotapes from the government just to feed my wrestling addiction.
I don't even know how library fines work. Like I don't know if they try and chase you up on it, or like it's one of those. I didn't even know there's a library right next to where I live. I didn't know it was a library. I thought it was a house. I didn't even know libraries were still a thing. I was like, do we not just have Google for this now? Like why are we? What's in a library? But it's closed just now because obviously COVID. Which when it's done, I want to go in and be like, what's in here? Do people come in? Like, what's happening here? But there we go. I'm sounding old, but obviously I'm in that period when it's like I still enjoy older stuff, but then the modern stuff when it's like, why have we got libraries anymore? We can just Google stuff. What's this all about? But it's a weird like transition period from when we grew up, which is seeing what my kids I've got just now. I've got like tablets, and like my kid loves playing like video games and that, and I'm like, when I was playing video games, it was like Sonic, like on the Sega Mega Drive, because my mum was like, you're not getting a PlayStation 1 till it's down in price. And like you were saying about so when I was growing up, it was NTL, which was
Yeah.
I think everybody in Glasgow had that because it had a really good deal on it, and it was just like that was it. You had to watch what NTL gave you, and if there was, it's not like people forget. It's not like today. The internet wasn't in your house. You just had to hope that somebody had the internet somewhere. They would, this dirt sheet, and then that's what my love of the old wrestling magazines, which is like used to get the little screenshots of the matches in it. I remember sitting like pouring in when I was a kid. And I've been getting some recently as well, which brings back a ton of memories, and it's just like a cool period. And that brings me to my next question is, we'll keep it positive first, then we'll get the dislike bit after that. But what's something that you love about today's wrestling product?
I think my love and hate's the same thing, so I can answer it all in one. But it's just like there is so much of it, which is a good thing, but also drives me mental sometimes. So, like, say you're watching Raw for some reason, and it's not your taste. Like, you don't need to watch that to get your wrestling fix anymore. Whereas, like, back in the day, that was like one of your 2-3 choices. But now, like, you've got with WWE alone, you've got SmackDown, NXT, NXT UK, 205 Live, main event if that's still a thing. Who knows? You've got Impact, you've got AEW, you've got New Japan. So like, if you're not enjoying one thing, you don't need to think about it. You can just go watch something else. Like you can stick New Japan on, you can go watch AEW, which is good. But then at the same time, there is so much wrestling to get through. It's like it feels like a chore sometimes. Like with me, like I'm trying to study everything that's going on just now so that I can try and set myself apart and make myself different. But it's hard to do that when there is so much content. You know what I mean? And the fact that like most of the stuff is on demand, so you need to pay like 5-6 different subscriptions to watch it all. Like it's good, but it's annoying.
I mean, I totally get what you mean. Like, it's just the subscription service, I think, has ripped the piss out of it. Like you're like, come on, I'm not paying like £100 a month just to watch like 4 different shows. Do you know what I mean? But like, that's where WWE obviously got ahead of the market. They pretty much have got the biggest subscription service you can get because it's got so much on it. Like, it's got all the classic stuff and the new stuff, which, like you kind of hinted to, if it was Raw, they should just stop it, take a couple of years off. But it's like, that's the worst thing as well. Like, there's too much to choose from. Like, for me with this channel, I just keep Raw, SmackDown, Impact, and AEW, NXT as well. But I try and like do the main kind of ones. And people are like, why do you not review like New Japan and stuff like that? I'm not going out my way to watch like New Japan or NWA Power. Like, I'll watch them for fun when I've got some time. The worst one that I always feel guilty about is NXT UK. I never sit down and watch it. Like, I know it's good. It's got good workers on it, good wrestlers. It's for obviously the UK. It has a lot of Scottish wrestlers there. I just never have the motivation to watch it, and I feel a lot of people feel the same. It's like by the time you get to NXT UK, you're already burnt out because the 3 hours of Raw that have totally kicked you in the balls of how terrible creative is there. Then NXT, that's give you a little bit like, oh, look what we're doing. Then they've announced some weird shit for SmackDown. Like, no, what? We're going to put Hell in a Cell on SmackDown. And you're like, oh, forget it. And I can't be arsed with this shit. So NXT UK gets that. Normally at that point when I'm like, fuck WWE, I can't be arsed with this push. But, aye. That's me hitting the rant again, sorry.
No, it's all right. To be honest, like, I've spent most of my time watching like 1990s WCW more than anything else, or like old ECW stuff again. Like, I go out my way more to watch the older stuff than the more up to date stuff, because I get more enjoyment out of it, and like there's stuff that you don't see anymore that I can possibly steal and make it seem like I've came up with it, but really I've just stolen it for like Alex Wright or someone, you know, like.
No man, totally. Like, there's so much. I'm the same as you. I go back and watch that kind of older stuff. I was doing a shout out to another wrestling channel, SCW Steve, great guy. If nobody's checked out his stuff, go see it. I was doing the Invasion 2001, like we're doing a retro review that they're called, and I was doing that. And I've been on this 2001, 2002 binge recently, and I'm like, this is so good. Like, it's terrible storytelling, but it's like so cheesily good. And then you look now and you're like, what happened? How did we get from this to this? They've got better wrestlers now, like the guys that are better in ring, which hurts.
I know, like, you look and like the wrestling standard now is like blowing that out of the water, but the fact that like everyone back then has like a really distinct character and the way they like mesh with one another, and it's like completely, it feels like you're watching a different company. But yeah, no, I'm the same.
It does. It hurts as well. But until like when people always say to me, "Why do you watch Raw?" One, because I review it for this channel. Obviously, that's that. I also feel awkward when I don't watch it because I'm like used to watching it on a Tuesday. But back when I was younger, but no, even when I was younger, even like 10 years ago, it was still a fun show to watch. And then it's just gradually, for some reason, when we're just going to put every worst idea imaginable on this show. Like, how could they? One thing, if you ever want to have a laugh on a Tuesday morning, watch my Raw rant. It's normally just me shouting at how terrible creative is. Like, the WWE isn't. I hate when always people go, "It's for kids." Kids don't watch it anymore. Like, literally, I've got 2 kids and none of their friends or even them will watch the new stuff, but they'll sit down and watch like Ric Flair, Steamboat, or I like Ravishing Rick Rude. I'm not going to lie, I love that guy. Yeah. But his work in WCW, which is underappreciated. If nobody's ever checked it out, go watch it. It's great. But like, they sit and watch his stuff, the Stone Cold, and you put on something new, and it's just like, nah, this isn't for me. And it's like, my son literally walked out the room when zombies were on, and it wasn't even like a walk out the room because he was scared. It was just a, and then he walked away, and I was like, come back, this is a pay-per-view, you need to watch this. But aye man, it's sometimes it's really hard, and I think it's just because there is too much here, and WWE's only competition is themselves, as people can say AEW's trying to compete with them, but WWE's that big. Raw competes with SmackDown. They've created their own competition, which somebody needs to change it, which I don't think is going to be anytime soon. I don't think AEW is going to be the guys that's going to be coming up being like, well, we're the next WCW, which I don't think is going to happen.
Maybe like, I don't know. They might get there eventually, but like, I don't think it'll be anytime soon.
Maybe if like somebody buys them there. I don't think Tony Khan's the guy to take them there, because at the minute I always feel like he's just like I'd be doing the same if I had his cash. Like, just being like, so my favourite wrestlers, Sting, cool, I'll get him. Hangman Page, I'll get him. Darby Allin, he looks cool. He kind of reminds me of like the ECW stuff. I'll get him. I'd be doing the exact same thing as him. Like, I'm not bashing him. Like, if I had his money, I probably wouldn't be doing anything. But like, if I had a wrestling show with his money, I'd be doing that. I think the next people who buy it from him, or investors come in, whatever, then we'll start to see it being like, cool, we need a plan to this, instead of from just, let's give Kenny Omega every belt in wrestling and hopefully it works, which it's no, but hopefully. This is me having my rant, man. I normally save these. I'm just in a really pissed off mood after Hell in a Cell. Like, it wasted a good 2 hours of my morning this morning, which just annoyed me. But aye, man. So I agree with you there. I think it's just, there's too much content. There's far too much. There's too many subscription services, and that's for movies and TV as well. But for wrestling, there's like there was an Impact pay-per-view, AEW, NXT, and then Hell in a Cell was like the week after, and I was like, I've literally not got enough time to sit somehow review all this, and so I was just like, you know what, I'm not going to review AEW or Impact because, well, I don't have the time. But there's just far too much of it to kind of try and keep up with.
Yeah, nah, like it's annoying because like, see, about like 10, 15 years ago when I was younger, like, this was the dream, like, just that there'd be like nothing but wrestling, and now I've got it and I'm like, this is boring. It's all like
it's like if you've only ever had, when you're a kid, one video game, and you just play that game like to the death, you look back and you're like, that was a really cool game, but then you go to play it and you're like, oh, this game is shit. Like, this is only the game my mum could buy me, and then just left me in this, and I had to make it be good. Which is what I feel wrestling is exactly like. Like, you're like, too much of a good thing can spoil it, and especially because everybody's doing. So back in the day, I would always say like WWF and WCW had the similar styles. Then you had TNA that came up. They had obviously a more X Division based, but still had people like Sting, Angle, that similar style as WWE. AEW's trying to do like the Japanese style in America, which traditionally has never worked. The same as like AAA never really works in America because people don't really go watch it, and it just doesn't connect with the audience. Like, people forget wrestling's different all across the world. Like, Japan has a different style, the UK, parts of Europe, Mexico, and it's just bringing them together, which is what WWE, WCW done very well. This is our style, you can fit into it, but bring your Mexican kind of style in, which I think they've done well. I know a lot of people don't agree with that, but I think they've done pretty good, especially WWE, since they're still here after all those years, and with, you know, the shit that they're putting out just now.
But I agree.
You've got a career in front of you, man. You don't need to say this. I don't. I'm already under the bus.
It's fine.
The amount of times that I've bashed like any wrestling company on this podcast, like, there was one, I had a few guys that were going to be coming on, and then I said something about like how independent wrestlers sometimes like are a wee bit annoying by saying like, oh, I don't want to wrestle for WWE, and it's like, well, of course you do. If they came with a contract, you would go there. Like, if WWE came to me and was like, can we hire you to do podcasts? Aye, of course you can. Don't. Why are you asking this? Just send it here. Like, we'll own you for the rest of your life. I don't care. Just send a thing. I'm going to sign it because it's the biggest. It's like the holy grail. It's like Disney of wrestling, really, isn't it? Like, you can say you hate Disney, but if you got a contract for Disney slid through your door, you'd be like, I've got to Disney. Forget it. It's not right. But I had a few guys cancel because I said that, which was annoying, because they were like, oh, you think you're too big-headed because you got a podcast? And I was like, I literally just say something that I was thinking. I'm sorry. Like, I don't watch these podcasts back. I don't know what I'm talking about. Don't worry about me. But no, man, I think it's, like I say, you've got a career in front of you. You don't need to worry about it. I'll take all the bad stuff. Aye, WWE isn't that good just now. all the other promotions are pretty much the same because nobody knows what to do with COVID, which is the truth.
Yeah, that's another that's another thing that annoys me with the current see piped in crowd noises. No, I'd rather it was in silence.
It's so cheesy.
Watching the Hall of Fame was horrible. But it was such all these nice genuine moments where guys are getting emotional because they're getting inducted, and then you've got fake piped in "you deserve it" chants and stuff. I'm just
it was so obviously fake as well because it was that there is software to use to naturally put that in there. They just didn't do that. They were not just this one guy's just there pressing buttons on a board you deserve it. I think that's when you should use it. But man, it's so awkward. And I think the whole COVID experience for people that are been wrestling or training. In fact, man, how have you found COVID in wrestling? Has it been weird that you've not really been able to go train? Do you think you would have debuted sooner, or have you enjoyed building your character more and stuff like that?
Well, I was meant to debut. It was May, June-ish last year. I think May it was meant to be. Then COVID. So that's been annoying. But training-wise, it's been frustrating not being able to get physical with folk. But at FPWA with Andy and that, he's went way above and beyond with training. So the first week where we were told oh, we can't come in and do training because pandemic and that, he instantly set up straight away that we would all do it online over Facebook. And then I don't think we've missed any weeks of training really. We've had seminars, we've had guest seminars come in. Folk from WWE had Nick Aldis, who was NWA world champ, came in and spoke to us for about 2 hours just because Andy asked if he would. There was a bit in October, about September, October last year, where we were able to come back in distanced. It was groups of 2 or 3 people were allowed to come in, and it was non-contact. That lasted a few weeks. Then it went back to the online stuff, and now we're back to groups where it's non-contact again. Non-contact wrestling training is bizarre. My cardio is fucked from just doing all this stuff where I'm not allowed to actually touch the other person in the ring. I'm just rolling around and throwing myself down. But I feel more confident now than I did before the pandemic started about making a debut, because I feel all of this, it's got my promo skills up from all the stuff I've learned from other guys, and we've done promo tournaments online to try and get guys' confidence up and their skills up. I've got more understanding of what I should be doing in the ring because I've heard from all these other different guys. I feel I've got better conditioning in the ring now with all this other stuff that we've been doing training wise. I feel a lot more confident now than I did when I was meant to be not long before having my first match. So it's maybe been a bit of a blessing, really, but it's lasted long enough now, and I want it to be done because I really want somebody to DDT me or suplex me or something. I don't even need to do it to them. I just want to I don't care. I'm so itching to go back.
Man, I totally get that feeling. It's such a weird for me with business wise, and then all the other stuff that I've had going on, being stuck inside with, just kind of stuck here. For me, it was harder because I was teaching my kids maths, which was maths, English, trying to do their skill stuff, and they're like, "Why are we doing this?" I'm like, "I don't know why you're doing this. I don't ask me. I hated school. It was shit, and plus, I have my own business and doing my own kind of thing. My whole life is just doing what I want to do. I work longer than I was than normal people, but it's just kind of doing the kind of stuff I want to do. But they're like, why do I need to sit down and do this? And I don't fucking know. You just need to do it. We need to send this picture to your teacher to tell them that they're doing it. The last one was my son started school last year, and my daughter was still in nursery, and it was the nursery wanted you to do work, and I was like, what do you do in nursery? Literally, then when she went back, I was just done the schoolwork with her. You know, like, oh, she's very intelligent. I was like, because I just done that. You wanted me to like draw a picture of an apple, and she was to send it in, and I was like, no, you're all right. This is stupid. Like, this is even more stupid than teaching him. Like, I don't know, read a book once a day. You know what I mean? Like, shut up. Just watch a movie. Calm down. No, but that was just one of those. That's how I started this channel, because I was like, no, I need to do something. I'm not sitting here with my kids the whole time, because but for the past year, obviously, there's not really been, for me, there's been barely any work, so it's been doing this channel, and I'm like, I can't, just to get back into doing something. But like you say, it's taught me cool things. It got me doing this podcast. I started it this year in March. It's been cool to talk to people in the business. Worst thing is, makes me want to get back into it so much. I'm like, maybe I could just do like a couple of more things. And then my partner's like, no, but you did hurt yourself. And then like sometimes she's like, why do you not just get back into it? Maybe, and I'm like, don't test me. I can go. But it's been such a weird time for everybody. I think like if you get people in bars and stuff like that as well, especially now. Like, it's my whole business. I help businesses get more business, marketing and advertising. I was trying to say it nicer. I'm like the lowest form of shite in the business world, but so I've got a wrestling podcast, which nobody really likes wrestling fans, and then nobody really likes marketing and advertising. I just like to pick the stuff that nobody likes, but so like there's nobody gone to like businesses. Like, it's so weird because like people book in for a restaurant and then no go, because most restaurants are still like, oh, we can't sell alcohol. But with like pubs, they're so busy. My clients there are so happy, making tons of cash. Everything else is like, hey, we've got no money, and what do you want me to do? I'm giving you a free course. What do you want me to do? But I can't wait for this to finish. I can't wait for COVID to be done. We can go out again, and we can, you know, like just be, like you said, go to the gym, take a bump. For me, it's like mixed martial arts just now, so I do like Muay Thai. I want to go get like punched or something, like just to be close to something. It sounds so weird, doesn't it, to say that?
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Because like we're doing, like when we're in the asylum, so we're like doing some sort of medieval torture, whatever Andy's decided is going to be the warm up. You're like dead by the end of it. And then you've got to do like all your rolls and bumps and all that. But like, see, just bumping yourself and not having someone do something to you. I miss having a reason to fall down. Like, I fall down enough in my real life as it is. Like, I am clumsy and my job is physical. I am constantly falling. Like, I want someone to like just drop kick me or something. Hopefully it looks like we're getting near the end of it. It should be like, I think we're looking at like July maybe, physical contact coming back, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
And I'm the exact same with being clumsy. So when I broke my neck, it was not like, I used to tell people it was a cool wrestling move, pile driver, that kind of stuff, but it wasn't. I was on the side of the ring, and I just fell off the side of the ring and landed directly on top of my head. And that's how I'm the clumsiest person in the planet. Like, last year, the worst thing is I'm clumsy and competitive, like at the same time. So last year I was playing What's the Time, Mr. Wolf, with my little girl. My little son was out. I obviously caught him first, and then she was ready to get me. I jumped over the couch and I tore my calf muscle. And so for the first like
Jesus.
4 or 5 months of now that COVID period, from like the start of May, I was just out. Like, but then again, I'm competitive. I was like, you know what, I could maybe do some push-ups. Then I was feeling a little bit better. Started doing squats. Ended up another 2 months where like, because I retore it, and I went to the doctors the second time, and they were like, you do know you have to come to the doctors when you do stuff like this, because it's like, try to see it can be serious. Like, you should come here. And I was like, is there anything you can do for the pain? Or like paracetamol and just put your leg up. And I was like, why are you saying I need to come here if you're just telling me to put my leg up? I've done that for like 5 months. But I'm like what's the time, Mr. Wolf, and tear your calf muscle? That's no something to be proud of as a 29-year-old, 30-year-old man. But she didn't catch me, so that's what we're going for. I mean, I think she kind of was like, oh, I've broke my dad, but not going to let it faze anybody. Didn't get caught. I was happy with that. But that's the kind of, I'm like the clumsiest competitive person that's like ever existed. So if you ever see me at a bar or something, just be like, get that guy like a fucking a special tray. Like, nobody trusts me to come back with like beers now. It's like around. I'll go get it for you, buddy. I'm like, sorry, I'm not getting up. I can't get up and go get it because I'll come back, start shaking, drop the tray, things start spilling, which obviously in Scotland isn't the best thing to be doing if you go to a bar. Man, so where do you see yourself being in like 10 years? Do you see yourself going up to like NXT UK and stuff like that? I can't be like, oh, because you look good, your style, I don't know yet, you've no debut, what do you think you could see yourself? Do you see yourself travelling Europe more, maybe go to Japan?
That's like my main thing just now is like once I've debuted and I've made like a wee bit of a appearance and impact like in the UK, my main thing is I do want to travel Europe, because like there's like some really cool independent scenes in the likes of like Italy, Denmark, Germany, like Switzerland's getting an up and coming scene. Just there's like loads of like wee up and coming scenes that like it'd be really cool to go travel there, and like because it's not a huge like developed scene like what we've got in the UK. Like the UK just now, we're starting to get a wee bit oversaturated again. I think. Well, I don't know, because NXT UK is signing everyone up, and then
yeah.
But there's still so many, because there's so many like training schools here, whereas like in those countries there's like a handful. I'd really like to like make my way around Europe traveling and kind of make a bit of a name for myself there. 10 years is a long time. Like I'm 31. In 10 years, like maybe I'll have had a wee run in NXT UK and then I'll be got like 41. I don't know if they'll have much of an interest in me by that point. Like I know I've got into it late, and like there's a small window of me ever making it there and being successful. So I'm not holding my breath for that. Like if it happens, amazing. But like I'm late into the game, and I don't know if I'm a DDP. I don't know if I'll make as much of an impact as he is. But yeah, mainly traveling. Like I'd love to go to Japan. Like I've always wanted to go to Japan anyway, like wrestling regardless. But like I would love to go work in Japan, learn some stuff there. South America, like all the wee places where like you don't hear about. Like I'd love to wrestle in like South Africa, like all these wee like well, it's not a wee country, but you know what I mean, like all the wee wrestling scenes that you just like you hear whispers about, but you don't see much of. Like Nigeria, like I'll go anywhere, like but I'm just really keen on traveling and like seeing the world and seeing what it's all about, like in the places where they've not had a wrestling scene for as long as like we have or America has, like, and they're still trying to like figure it out themselves and to see what they're up to and how it differs from what we've got. Not Mexico, because I can't work the left side. I don't care what like with the whole like they work the opposite side. I'm as uncoordinated as it is anyway. But yeah, no, I'd love to like travel about and hopefully like have a contract somewhere at some point. But again, like I'm old. So who knows?
Man, I turned 30 on the 10th of June. So it's my second birthday pretty much within the lockdown. But with my 30th, I was able to go out with my partner to like a bar and have a pint and come back home because obviously COVID's still a cunt. But so I was like, it's not that old as well, because a lot of guys I speak to in my normal job are like in their 50s, 55 plus, and they're like, kid, I didn't get into like what I was doing till I was like 40. Like they always say they're so young, and a couple of guys I know that wrestling worked for WWE, right, in the writing department, didn't actually start writing till they were 35. So you got plenty of time, man. Don't always, when people say like, oh, I'm old, like I say that as well. I'm like, I'm just an old man now, but I'm like, no, I've still got plenty of time, because most people don't retire till they're 65, 35 years for now. So I keep telling myself that to make myself feel better. But when I get what you mean, see with the smaller places, when I was wrestling, obviously the UK wasn't that, there wasn't, well, Scotland had the SWA, and ICW was still doing like Mary Hill with like 3 people, but there wasn't really anything else really, which was good and bad because there wasn't anywhere to go. But then also, these places were something that you've really tried to work to get on. But like you said just now, I do feel it's a little bit oversaturated. I feel there's too many training schools, and not just that. Every training school's got a wrestling show that they run, and then every training school, 2 or 3 of them are linked to like a promotion as well. You're just like, just calm down a little bit. There's too much. Worst thing is, again, that we're saying at the start, sometimes too much of it can be spoiled for choice, and then you kind of just go to the one that you're used to seeing, which you're like, Discovery, I remember them, I'll just go watch that. Like I won't go check out any of these other small guys because they're just the same. And there's me just buried myself with every other wrestling company in the world, not just the big guys. But I say it, I love wrestling. I just sometimes people forget. It's like any business or anything that starts to make a little bit of money, people just set it up and go, we'll just go for that. And it never works, never lasts long period, and hurts the general economic movement of the business, which is such a pain for wrestling, especially in the UK, because we had like a cool like Big Daddy and that kind of stuff like that, 60s, 70s, 80s, and then wrestling pretty much died in the UK, and it started to come back, died again, and it started to come back, and obviously the Speak Out movement and that kind of stuff has caused it to kind of get a little bit weird just now, and then it'll start to come back again, which is, it's just like, it feels like it gets going and it just never, people just kind of, I don't know, just for me that's what I feel, and I know I've just buried myself with everybody else in wrestling, but you didn't need to say you need to like me, but as long as you subscribe, I don't really care. No man, but I get what you mean, like when people say like, what, where do you see yourself in 10 years? But I could definitely think there's a lot, well, NXT UK just signing up anybody just now, but for like somebody coming through Scotland, travelling to like France, Italy, Switzerland, Denmark, which a lot of people forget have like a wrestling scene, but they have like a lot of cool wrestlers coming out of it. Like I said, South Africa, South America, there's a lot of opportunities that you don't need to just go to like ICW in Scotland, which a lot of people only think that's the only company here.
I know what you mean. Like, I don't know. There's lots of places that I'd like to go to. But the thing with like there being so many like places in Scotland, so many like wrestling schools and that is like, even though there's so many wrestling schools, not all of them are good. Like there's been a big habit of like folk seeing, oh, there's a big demand for wrestling schools, I'll open up my own one, when they are nowhere near qualified to be teaching other people how to train, which is like why I'm really happy, like I'm training with Andy and that. But I've seen like there are some other schools that I'm like, why would anyone pay their money to be trained by like someone that really could maybe like use some more training somewhere else themselves, you know what I mean?
But I get, that's what I was meaning as well, that there'll be like one good school, but for every one good, so out of 10 skills, you're going to get 2 good ones, the rest of them are terrible. And it's so bad because it's like, you know yourself, you get a bad training day, but if you've got a bad training day in a bad school, so a bad training day in a good school, still okay, but a bad training day in a bad school, it's just like utter terrible. It's like you can hurt somebody or you can hurt yourself, which is, it's horrible, especially in wrestling when it's all about protecting each other, and obviously it's real. It's not about protecting each other, it's about hurting each other. But when we're training, we need to protect each other. Still keeping kayfabe alive. No, man, talking about kayfabe is a question that I've been starting to ask people. I didn't send this here, but what do you think about social media being used in wrestling? For me, I would prefer it. I think it needs to come into it instead of from people like The Fiend posting pictures of their dog. Have a personal account for that. You're meant to be like this demon. That's what my opinion is. What's your kind of take on, should wrestling use social media more? Plus, they let brawls on it. I'm going to go on a rant, but what's your take on it?
No, I agree. Like, I think if you've got if you're a wrestler and you've got a Twitter account and you are like tweeting something that doesn't have anything to do with your character, why are you doing it? Like, see if you're like at a show and you see like 2 guys are fighting one another. They're in the middle of like this big feud where it's like one's like screwed the other one over, and it's maybe like this big heated rivalry. And then say you're on Facebook and you see that they've like posted a photo with one another after the show because they're on a night out having like a meal afterwards or something. You're like, well, why would I pay my money to go see the next show when like you've just shown to me that it's a load of shite. Like this isn't. That's something that like Andy teaches us as well. It's like be dedicated to it. Whether you're like in the ring or you're on social media, like be your character, because like nobody cares if you've like went out on a jog, if you're meant to be some like mad masked luchador, like unless you're like posting a video of yourself running, wearing your mask and doing a flip every like 5 steps, who cares? What's it got to do with you? Like, yeah, no, sorry, I'm getting in a rant now, but no, yeah, I totally.
I get what you mean, man. Like, I just think, like you just said there, just keep it. I don't know. It just makes it. Social media is there, and it's like wrestling have just totally failed to like use it. It's like just play a character. Like it's no hard. Like, have your personal accounts. Like I have a personal account that I don't share anywhere. It's just for like my friends and family, and that's where I don't post anything. That's normally where I just scroll through and see what people are doing. But like on other places, I post obviously a podcast and stuff like that. Like it's no real life online. But people forget like you've got like for wrestling, like play a character. And I always hate when you see like it's not just women wrestling, but when you see like the women getting their makeup done and they're sitting next to each other, and you're like, why do you don't just put a wee petition up? You don't need to smile. Or when you do TikTok just now, that really gets me. I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? You're meant to be like a demon person and you're just fucking dancing around doing TikTok. But aye, that's my gripe. Is that old man kayfabe shouldn't have died and should have tried to stay there.
See, I'm a total hypocrite just now because like that was like I've always thought like if you're a character, be in character. But then with the whole pandemic and that, I've had nothing to put out, so I've been a lot more interactive with folk to just try and like get my name out and stuff, which has worked for me. But it's also totally going against like what I'm meant to be doing in ring. So like once things get back up and running, I think I'm going to have like a complete reset and get back to just being in character. But I've totally like hypocrited myself with all that. But it's been a difficult time just now. Like folk in WWE, I don't think they have any excuse because like they're still wrestling, they've still got all their shows and that. I've got nothing. Like I've been working and sitting in the flat doing nothing. So like I need something to do, otherwise I'm gonna jump out the window. But like
but I think it's like the WWE people obviously get paid millions or hundreds of thousands, right, to do what they do. Like they've got a good paycheck coming in. They should be doing this on social media. People that are like at the lower end that have still got their job, like yourself, you're still training. You've not even debuted yet, so it's like you're still kind of there finding your character. You've got like a real job and stuff like that. Like nobody's expecting you to be like, right, you need to remain in character because you're going to be getting this amount of money exactly. But like it's just a gripe that I have with social media. Like it's not even have your personal accounts and just like do your stuff. I'll do podcasts if you want, but don't. Just stay in character a little bit. That's what I'm asking you today. Just have a character account. Just stay in character for like 2 seconds. And the worst thing is, I know the minute we get back to shows, or the amount of people that I've had on this in the kind of Scottish wrestling scene, I'm just going to get torn apart because most of them have been bad guys. And I've been like, if you just do what you want, you might get cheap heat, whatever. Just shout at me. I'll be the baldy guy, and do what you want with me. I don't care. I'm not one of those people that take it to heart as well. And they're like, all right, we'll take that down, take that and no. But
no, it's that's fine.
You can, if you want, you like throw something at me, whatever. I don't care. I'll sell it. I'll hit the ground like I can still do that. So heading up to the end of the podcast is 3 questions, 2 that I sent you and 1 that I never did. If you've ever seen it, it's my favourite question to ask because everybody always hums and haws at it. But the first one is, who's your favourite wrestler of all time? Now you can give a couple. You don't need to just do 1 or 2. Most people normally give 3. But who's your favourite?
Dusty Rhodes. just Dusty Rhodes always has been, like, from when I was wee and I first watched it and I had the videotapes. I was like, this guy's, because I had we had like WCW videotapes that I got from like car boot sales and stuff. So I had like all his like old matches like before the polka dots and stuff. Then the polka dot stuff, like that was cool as well. But then when I went off wrestling for a bit, like, because I didn't have much to watch, like I had the bloody Best Ultimate Warrior videotape that and all that stuff. Like I'd watched all it to death, and I was just like, I didn't have anything new to watch, so I stopped watching it for years. And then when I started watching wrestling again, it was because I was flicking through channels on my cable box in my room when I should have been in my bed, and it came across like Bravo, and it was ECW was on, because it was when they were showing like the ECW TV shows, and Dusty Rhodes was there. I was just like in bloody like double denim cowboy hat, boots, just like battering fuck out of folk. And I was like, what is this? That's how I got back into wrestling, was that it was him and Steve Corino were like feuding with one another, who is another one of my favorite wrestlers. If I was going to name a few, it'd be him, it'd be Dusty Rhodes, Steve Corino, Kevin Owens, Raven, just like basically folk that were like brawlers but could talk. That's the extent of like what I'm into. But like it always has been Dusty Rhodes, like 100%.
Man, you're the first person that's ever says Dusty Rhodes, but I love the guy's work. Like the polka dot stuff, I'm not a big fan of. But previous to that, like especially stuff with like Flair is insane. When I was growing up, my granny, she hated Ric Flair. Like she refused to go get a Ric Flair best of collection DVD. She was just like, no, not even having them in the house. Like she hated them. So I got to watch a lot more Dusty Rhodes because she'd liked him. So the kind of way I got into watching Flair as well was like, oh, Dusty Rhodes has gone against this guy. So it got me in there. But I'm in that ECW period. That's something that got me into wrestling as well. Like it kept me in it. Like I was getting to that point. It was like when the one night stands and stuff came out. It was like the Rise and Fall ECW DVD, all that kind of stuff. I was just kind of, oh, wrestling's just, it's just like WWE. That's the only company that was there. And then they released this stuff, and I was like, what is this? This is like so much. This isn't WCW. This is like blood, guts, like just great. And that's what just got me. I was like, I want to definitely do this. And that's when I was like that 13, 14-ish. I was training, but like I was starting to do like a match or two here. Didn't really know where I wanted to go. And I was like, this is where I want to go. Plus then, just after that, I've seen one of my favourite wrestlers, Alf Herman. I don't know if you know this guy.
Yes, I used to go down to 1PW shows and see Alf Herman.
Man, that's where I seen him. I've actually got the 1PW DVDs, like the I'll tell you about it another time. I'm not going to sit and do it in the podcast. This is just too geeky now. But
sorry, I can pull mine out. I've got all my like Know Your Enemies, Invincibles. Like I've got all those.
That's the ones I've got. But when I seen Alf Herman, it was like just before or just after that, and I was like, this is a guy that's like, I love that hardcore style. I did love it when I was younger. Now I'm like, not so much. I wouldn't do it. I still appreciate watching it. I just love all wrestling, but that ECW. Like when Alf Herman was doing it, ECW was there, and it just kind of led into me just falling mega into love with wrestling even more. The second question is, man, what's your favourite event of all time? What's an event you could sit down and watch consistently?
I would have said ECW One Night Stand 2005, but like that is one of the ones where like I can sit down and watch it like start to finish and not be bored of like anything at all. But also, I think, like, because that's a bit standard, like, everyone knows I love ECW. Well, though, most folk think I prefer ECW. Like, I've got a bit of a reputation for being maybe the only fan of ECW December to Dismember.
I can see, but it's not as bad as everybody makes it.
It's not. It's actually good. No, I think one of my favorite shows of all time, which is a bit out, is Survivor Series 2002, which was like opened up. There was like a 6-man elimination tables match. Jeff Hardy, Spike Dudley, Bubba Ray Dudley against 3-minute warning, and it ended up just Bubba Ray Dudley, and then Devon came, made the save, Dudley Boys reunited. You got like the 3-team 6-man SmackDown Tag Team title match, first elimination chamber, Jamie Noble versus Billy Kidman, hardcore women's title match, Trish against Victoria. Like the whole card was amazing.
Lesnar Big Show as well, when Paul Heyman turns on Lesnar. Man, that's one of my favourite cards, pay-per-views ever. I used to have the DVD and I ruined it back when it was like it felt like you're putting in a record player because the laser was that strong and it would like scratch all the way through it.
I still remember like it has the bit where like Saliva's playing Always like live, but they're syncing it with like the hype package for the Elimination Chamber, and the way Shawn Michaels switching music perfectly syncs up with the music. Like honestly, it's such an amazing show. I would say probably that.
I think I've never heard anybody say that one's a great show or pick that, but that's one of my all-time favourite pay-per-views. I watch that like every couple of months just because of like how great it is. Everything on it just works. That hardcore women's match as well was just insane, especially at that point when it was like brand panties are us everywhere. Do you know what I mean? But like it was such a cool match. I loved the Hell in a Cell. Michaels getting the win, looking like somebody smacked him in the face with like a bucket of blood. But I'm glad you said
you had like Scott Steiner making his debut, just beating up Matt Hardy and Chris Nowinski. Like amazing, absolutely amazing show.
It has to be 2002. Has to be a great, one of the best years in wrestling because
2000 and 2002. It's very hard to find like a bad pay-per-view from those years.
I agree with you, man. Especially No Mercy 2002, I think it was, with Taker and Lesnar, Hell in a Cell.
With Undertaker's arm in the cast.
Aye.
Yes.
I loved that Hell in a Cell. And how many people have they seen it? I'm surprised by it. I'm like, how did you not know this was a thing? Like, this is like a fantastic Heyman bleeding with a tie through the cell and stuff like that. I love that card as well. But I think, like you said, 2000, 2002 were probably peaks. And then 2001's there as well. That's pretty good too. Just when Booker T's coming in and stuff like that was pretty cool. But obviously, they pretty much messed up Diamond Dallas Page, but it was...
with 2001, because you had the invasion, like you had all these WCW guys just suddenly burst onto the scene, and it was like really cool to see that they were there, and you had all these like clashes and matches, but they hadn't like integrated their styles to mesh well with the WWF guys. So the matches were a bit hit or miss, but the storylines were amazing, kind of. But then when it got to like 2002, they had sort of settled in a bit, and they had their style where like they could work with the WWE guys better, and the class of matches was just like top notch.
That was the year you had Hogan Rock as well, wasn't it? WrestleMania 18. Was that 2002? Aye. Was it 2, 3?
Yeah, 2002. Because No Way Out 2002, NWO.
Aye. It's such a... I don't know. Just that year just feels good. See, even the SmackDowns, and like you've got Randy Orton that's making appearances there as well when he's younger and he's wearing like the shorts, which is... And Cena's kind of starts to pop up here and there. It's just such a cool like SmackDown, Raw, pay-per-views. Everything works, and it's such an underestimated year. But I literally go back and watch that one like that whole year all the time. So, man, final question. So we've not got people sitting listening to us talk wrestling like big geeks all the time. But
everyone else feeling so much younger than us.
2002 was a good year, all right. Calm down. We're still young. still just holding on to the precious.
I've let go a long time ago. I'm old. It's fine.
I'm not accepting that I turned 30, man, because I was turned 28 when I started. 29. No, I was 28. Then it was 29. Then now 30. I'm like, I'm still 28. I've not grew up. Like I've not took any extra responsibilities in my life.
If it happened during COVID, it doesn't count. So you're fine.
That's it. I'm just going to start saying I'm 28. I'll be like 62. I'm 28. You talk. No, man. So final question. I'll tell you my answer to the question. I was I'm not sure whether they changed. No, I'll tell you my answer to the question after it, and then you can tell me yours. We can discuss it as well. So, if you could add yourself to or replace anybody in any match in history, what would it be? For me, I would replace Owen Hart, only if I could wrestle as good as Owen Hart against Brett, SummerSlam 94, Blue Steel Cage, because that's the best steel cage match in history, in my opinion, but it's also, I'm going to say it's fact, so.
Fuck. It's tricky. See, like, my favourite match of all time is Dusty Rhodes against Steve Corino in the Texas Bull Rope match at ECW Living Dangerously 2000. So, like, ideally, I would say I'd, like, replace Steve Corino in that match and just have the exact same match, just because it's, like, it's such a good match. But I think if it was, like, gun to my head, if I had to replace one person in a match, I wouldn't want to do that because that's perfect the way it is, and I wouldn't want to, like, I would not want to insert myself into that. But I'd replace Arn Anderson in the Dangerous Alliance versus Sting Squadron War Games match from, I want to say 92? 92 or 93.
And you're pulling out the classics, honestly. Like, the people always go for, like, SummerSlam 94, that Blue Steel Cage match is one of my earliest matches I've ever seen. And it's just, I love it. I think it's one of the best matches. But, like, you're playing it like ECW, WCW. Everybody always just normally sticks to, like, modern WWE. And I'm like, no, there's so many classic stuff. Add yourself to, like, the Bull Rope match or the Dangerous Alliance one's a throwback. Yeah. Like, I watched that a couple months ago for a retro review on another guy's channel. And it was so cringy, but so good.
Like, because, like, I love the War Games matches. And, like, the ones where it was like the Horsemen were always good, but, like, there's something about that, like, collection of guys in that team. So even, like, just to say I was in the Dangerous Alliance for a night, but also, like, replacing Arn Anderson and, like, going in first, because he always goes in first in a War Games match, and just being the Iron Man for the whole fucking thing. And yeah, that would be, like, that'd be it. That's the dream.
Definitely, man. I think it's such a, that period in WCW as well was a really underrated period because everybody just thinks of RoboCop and they're just like, oh, it's terrible. But, like, there's a lot that happens. Like Rick Rude, who's one of my favourite wrestlers. You've got, what was his, Dustin Rhodes. I was going to call him Goldust, but you've got Vader has good matches, Cactus Jack, Sting, a bunch of guys, and I can't go through and name them all because it's one of those ones. Well, even the one that everybody hates to mention, Hollywood Blondes. I love those guys, man. That's one of my favourite periods in Pillman and Austin's career, and because it's just it's so weird to see Austin with hair, and it makes me feel young as well when I used to have hair. But I'm like, such a cool kind of period in wrestling that everybody misses. I'm glad you picked that for your match because hopefully somebody will go check it out instead of you scrolling by it.
So good.
You should check out ECW as well, man, because that one's a classic as well. And so I've got your link tree in the description below, man, so people can go check it out. When you debut, give me a shout. I'll hopefully be able to make it to the show instead of unless it's one of those like, oh, it's a come to the show and we need to be like 6 feet apart. I probably won't go to that. I'm not going to lie because I'm not enjoying social distancing events. It makes me feel awkward because I'm like,
all right,
if I need to social distance for other people, are we going to catch something? What's happening here? But when we're back to normal, I'll definitely come and check out your stuff, man, and let me know I can share it.
Like, definitely with knowing that you're fine with, like, you know, me hitting you and you selling it. Like,
David, you just tell me what you want me to do, and I'm just going to come up and punch you. Don't worry about it. When I broke my neck when I was leaving, a guy who was one of my best friends, and he was in the ring, and it was the guy he was going up against was like, "Can I hit you with a chair?" And I was like, if you want. Like, so I took a chair shot, and that was the last thing. So I was in the audience, and he was going to hit my friend, who just moved it away, hit me, and then I went down, and it was so funny because the crowd was just pure like, "What the what's happening to this guy? How did he just get hit with it?" And you seen everybody kind of just like sitting back in their chair just in case. But it was fun. But I probably shouldn't have done that. That's another thing that I always do. stupid stuff, but it was fun. But I man, definitely people should go check you out. You're a young-ish wrestler.
Yep.
That's you're getting ready to debut, which is like a cool period in a wrestler's career. Like you could end up being the next Diamond Dallas Page, you know, up there in WWE. Well, obviously WCW's not here, but up there in WWE, having bell rope matches with whoever, and people look back at this podcast and be like, that's where the guy was going to start. So I definitely recommend, man, people go check you out. It's a cool period to support wrestlers coming out of this COVID. And is there anything you want to say before we kind of sign off? Just check me out on Twitter. Look at me.
I've not really, don't expect much. Like I'm constantly working just now, so like my interaction is down because of the shoot job. But I check me out. I do TikToks because apparently they allow over 30s to make a TikTok account without adding them to a register, which I'm surprised at. But I do that. That's all right. Sometimes it's on the link tree. Just
go to link tree
Aye.
and click something. Support a kind of local Scottish young wrestler, grown up youngish wrestler getting into the business.
Yeah, TikTok, Instagram, OnlyFans, Facebook, all that.
No problem. So what I'll do is I'll end the recording here, and I'll tell you the kind of aftercare information.
Aftercare. Oh, sounds like